Shalom, Kol Halal, Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. The 144,000 and the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth among the heathen that look like those heathens, the Israelite foreigners. And to the few Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you another lesson in truth. And a subject that the Lord put the Spirit on me almost out the gate to be the main focus of my ministry, because everything that that we're going through and everything that's happening in the earth revolves around this. All right? Especially when it comes to the gospel. And, you know, matter of fact, let me grab a scripture first. Because the more and more the days go by, the more and more Esau Edom is exposed, Christianity is exposed, and Judaism is exposed. And the only way they're uplifting it right now, keeping it going, is simply by, well, because of who controls the media. See, if the media was neutral, everyone would see it. And then that's the funny thing, is that the majority of people still see it. They're trying, they're desperately trying to hide it. They just try to discredit the truth no matter what. But what am I looking for here? To believe. I was trying to find that. Was it in Luke? I was trying to find that scripture of mouth and wisdom. How about this? The scripture when he says that the Lord will give you a mouth that no one can gainsay nor resist. It's Luke 21:15. And it reads, "For I will give you a mouth and wisdom which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist." All right? They can't gainsay it or resist it. They'll try to use other scriptures to get around the truth, falsify and fabricate history, twist history as we're going to read. All right? But this is on the Torah.com. The elder Uriah sent me this yesterday. And, I've been mentioning it in videos, because if they took the video down, there was a video. Well, they took it off YouTube anyway. I'm pretty sure it's still on Rumble and other things. But it's like a 10 or 13 minute video with a collage of about 20 different rabbis, all pointing out that ancient Rome was Esau, all right, and or Esau. See, I was saying Esau the way they say it. There's no V in Hebrew. That's they pronunciate it the way the aftermarket form of Hebrew that they use today is what I'm gonna call it. So I'm gonna try to continue to keep calling it the aftermarket Hebrew that they use today. They use the V. All right, like this Dr. Malka Z. Zimkovich. All right, and they point out the fact that ancient Rome was Edom, but they throw a couple little things in there that's not true. So remember, when Esau gives you the truth, he also gives you lies. So Esau, the ancestor of Rome, that is true, because through Alexander of Macedon, who's an Amalekite, and an Edomite himself, he and his people, mainly his army, took over the brown-skinned people of Europe, the brown-skinned people of North Africa, and the brown-skinned people of Asia for the most part. And they took it over and they controlled it. And then he set up his 4 generals. All right, it was actually 5. They offed 1. And Esau Edom has been warring with each other and everyone else ever since. They couldn't even rule in unity. That's one of the reasons why Rome fell. All right. But Rome was a metropolis, just like, New York or Chicago. All people were there. It would be just like being in, in different cities in London and UK today. All people are there. All right. It wasn't just all one people. So they tried, and that's the way that religion, which is, was taught and history was taught. That's why people think that, well, it was only white people in Europe and only black, so-called black, so-called white people in Africa, when the truth of the matter is they were in both Africa, Europe, and Asia. There's no such thing as the Middle East. That's something else that they made up, an aftermarket name. All people were there, all right, during the time of the Lord, all right. But it says in the Bible, Esau is the ancestor of the Edomites who lived in Mount Seir, southwest of Judah. So how did the rabbis come to associate Esau and Edom with Rome? Two main factors are at work here: Christianity and Herod, and the Herodians, because they got a movie coming out right now. All right, but Christianity still teaches as if Herod was an actual a Jew or a Judite, but he was just not the king, not in the royal line or something, But Herod was an Edomite that was a convert Jewish person. You see? Because they're not going to mention the history of the Maccabees in here, I bet you. He said Herod, so let's see. It says, the Torah describes how Isaac and Rebekah's twin sons, Jacob and Esau, battle in each other. All right? The children, well, that's what they read. They read, I don't need to read that. They just read Genesis 25th chapter. All right, I'm going to jump right down to his commentary. It says, as Jacob and Esau grow, oh, he's still reading it. Okay, I guess I already read that. As Jacob and Esau grow up, their competition continues. Esau is a hunter while Jacob is a tent dweller. Jacob is a plain man dwelling at home. Kind of like, what the Edomites called porch monkeys. It says, one day when Esau returns from the hunt, and who goes out and kills Bambi? Sprays deer piss on himself and bear piss and lays around in the grass and sits up in trees and kills little harmless animals and kills animals that aren't even clean to eat. Just kills for trophies. That's Esau. So when you just start looking at the characteristics of the two people, you can begin to see why they can't gainsay or resist. But it says Jacob convinces his exhausted brother to sell him his birthright for a pot of stew. And which it wasn't Jacob that did it, the Lord did it. The Lord rulers in the kingdom of man. It tells you that in many scriptures. All right, and it tells you in Genesis that when it says, when you read up, the two nations were in her womb, two shall be separate. All right, and it says, and one people shall be mightier than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. So the Lord already ordained it that the older would serve the younger, which is why Esau had the spirit to sell his birthright for the food. All right, but it says because the Lord did it, because it was, so the Lord set it up where Jacob was to rule, not Jacob. All right. And it says this, and anyway, it says, as Jacob and Esau grow together, the competition continues. Esau is a hunter while Jacob is a tent dweller. And one day when Esau returns from the hunt, Jacob convinces his exhausted brother to sell him the birthright for a pot of stew, which was raw meat, uncooked meat. Who likes their medium rare and extra rare and bloody meat. All right. The characteristics, the prophecies. All right. You have to pay attention to those things. In a later story, Jacob finally overtakes his brother twin, his older brother, when he tricks their elderly blind father, which he didn't, his mother kind of set it up. Remember, again, the Lord set it up into blessing him with Esau's blessing. Esau was never supposed to get the blessing. See the way they word things? Because they also have taught within Christianity that Jacob was a thief. No, the real thief was Esau. All right, because he sold his birthright and then he tried to go in and get a blessing for a right that he no longer owned. Who's the real thief here? All right. It says, this leaves Esau with the blessing of subservience to his younger brother, and this is why Esau Edom, the so-called white man, hates us today. Even though they're on top and got the fatness of the earth, just like the scriptures say. He got the temporal blessing and the biggest blessing of all the nations in the world. All right, none of the nations ruled the entire earth, circumference of the earth. Esau got dominion, though he's the smallest of the people. All right, so-called white people make up 16% or less than the people of the world, according to their own statistics. But yet, their images were put up. They falsify the image of the Lord to look like Esau instead of looking like Jacob, because it clearly tells you throughout the scriptures that the Israelites were melanated people, mostly with woolly hair. All right, with brown skin. All right, like bronze and brass. Yet, plays on words and changing of words, Ruddy means is a brownish red. It didn't mean pale. All right. So, anyway, all this stuff is going on. All these things they're saying. Judah and Idum in the Second Temple, Edom and Rome. You can go and read the article for itself, but they're talking around the fact they mentioned Herod, and I'm skimming through the article and nothing about Herod yet. All right. Now we're on the epistle of Barnabas, where, so they didn't say anything about Herod and how Herod was an Edomite who became Jewish, and a whole group of Edomites, could have been hundreds of thousands of them, all right, because they got conquered. All right, here they got some connection here. Hadrian, the king of Edom, a millennium, steps further to connect Edom to the emperor of Hadrian, who puts down Barak revolt in Warsaw. All right, so that's some history I didn't know. But nevertheless, okay, after Hadrian, king of Edom, conquered the world, he returned to Rome and said to his officers, I want you to make me a god since I have conquered the world. And they said, but you have not yet established your rule over his gods. The city was his. He went and succeeded to destroy the temple, exiled Israel, and returned to Rome. He said, I didn't know the name Hadrian. It said, I have now destroyed his house and burned his temple and exiled his people. Make me a god. So he said, so this is something that happened with Edomite Romans. But what he's not talking about is the Jewish Romans, the Herodian Jewish Romans, the converts who were converted from the time of John Hyrcanus. All right. That's not mentioned about. So let's go back. Let me click back to the page and let's go to this one now. The Cambridge University. So that was from the Torah.com. This is the Cambridge University Press. All right here. So Cambridge. So let's see what the Cambridge. Oh boy. Jacob and Esau, the rabbinic Jacob and Esau, pagan Rome and Christian Empire. All right. Malachi Haim HaKohen. All right. So here you go again with another rabbi stating that the Edomites, Christian Empire, Anglo-Christianity in both Europe and America is Edom. And Edom are the people, what it says in, now even though they're not giving you true details, all right, they're giving you false details and a controlled narrative so that they can still try to control the story. They're not giving you the full facts because it tells you in both the book of Malachi and in Romans, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. All right. And the Lord changes not. Okay. It tells you that in both the New and the Old Testament. Is it Malachi? 3 and 6. For I am Yahawah, I change not. Therefore ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. Okay. But in Malachi 1, it says, the burden of the word of Yahawah to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, saith Yahawah, yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother? Saith Yahawah, yet I loved Jacob, all right, and I hated Esau. Paul was quoting Malachi, all right, and that's all the New Testament is. People try to discredit it, but see the New Testament and the Apocrypha, all right, which these people conveniently don't like to talk about, all align with each other, and that's how you get your precepts upon precepts. That's how you get understanding. The New Testament isn't a new book with new ideas. The New Testament are the disciples who were all Israelites, every one of them, including Paul. He tells you he was a Roman citizen, but he was an Israelite by blood, by flesh, from the tribe of Benjamin. He tells you that in Romans 11. Duh. All right. And all the New Testament is a book of the disciples who became apostles, all right, teaching the Old Testament. That's why even Yahawashi, I mean, that's what they were quoting, as it is written. So that's all the New Testament is, the testament of the men of the Lord. The prophets come back, and the prophets teaching the Old Testament and the prophecies. All right, and those prophecies expose that Esau Edom is the so-called white man today. All right, and through those prophecies, we can identify who all the nations are today, which is why when Esau came into power during the Renaissance, all those names were removed away from people, right? For the most part, okay, because you can connect during the Dark Ages, medieval times, when Jacob was ruling Europe, North Africa, and Asia, like the medieval empire of the Israelites. They were controlling, and because they were on all three continents during the time of the Lord and after. All right, and all the relics that were left behind all throughout Europe, showing you all these dark people. But once they were in rulership and all the churches and things like that. But then once you get to the and many of those images are still in Europe to this day, right? But everything was whitewashed during the time of the rebirth of Edom, that time when he got loose for the little season, all right? But it says, whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith Yahawah of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom Yahawah have indignation forever. So he said he hates these people forever. He said he would have war with Amalek from generation to generation. All right. The Lord returns to a world ruled by Edom. And as these rabbis are pointing out, the fact that Christianity is Esau Edom, that's true. That was set up by Esau Edom. All right, or taken over by them anyway, because it was wicked Jake that set up Christianity during the Dark Ages. Esau took it over though. But let's read some of this article here, or this from whatever this is from the book Jacob and Esau by Malachi Haim HaKohen. It says, and Jacob and Esau typology arose from national disaster. The Jewish prophets charged, and there weren't any Jewish prophets, right? As a matter of fact, there's no such thing as the Jewish is referring to being prophets, because when you say Jewish, that's talking about the Herodian converts. The Israelites never referred to themselves as Ish, all right? And you can't call someone from the tribe of Levi, from the tribe of Naphtali, from the tribe of Issachar, from the tribe of Reuben, Manasseh, a Jew. All right, that term was referring to Judeans, or properly said, the people of Yahawadah. Okay, the prophets charged Edom, historically a small kingdom to the south of Judea, with abetting and destruction of the first temple of Jerusalem, and they did. All right, and they broke the brotherly covenant. That's in the scriptures. Apocalyptic prophecies turned Edom into an enemy whose demise would proclaim. It didn't say Israelite redemption. They got this word Jewish here. That's something that's them trying to control the narrative. Biblical redactors edited that Jacob and Esau. So what I'm going to do is every place where it says, JOO-ish, I'm going to say what's actually supposed to be there. Biblical redactors edited that Jacob and Esau, because they're trying to write themselves into salvation, and as if they're not Esau too. They're Esau as well. All right. The prophecy of Ezekiel 36:5 is beyond condemning. It says Jacob and Esau's story in Genesis to convey hostility to Edom and made Esau the Edomites' ancestor. By the end of the Second Temple period, the Idumeans, which is a Greek way of saying Esau or Edom, forcibly converted. He talked about it. The Idumeans, but see, the Idumeans are Edom, and the Idumeans started calling themselves Jewish. They were following the ways of the law, statutes, and commandments, and Herod is of the Idumeans. Stop playing. All right, forcibly converted to Judaism, assimilated. The rabbis now, which they are, these rabbis are these very people they're talking about. Now the temple in devastated land and Midrash, the rabbis rewrote the biblical story. Esau became a pagan Roman. Actually they did. And the universal empire into the building, because the Greeks were also Esau. Right. And once again, Alexander of Macedon can be traced back to. I'll just give you the bloodline real quick. You do the research yourself. We've done tens of thousands of videos on it over the years. But Alexander was a son of Philip the Macedonian. Philip of Macedon was a son of an Agagite, King Agag. All right, is a son of Amalek, and Amalek is a son of Edom, or grandson of Edom through Eliphaz. There's the bloodline. You can't get around this, man. All right. So these people are basically at war with each other, and he's giving you all this dialogue and and twisting and turning the story, and they told you the truth, but didn't tell you the truth. All right. So let's read this prophecy, which was read the other day to those two women agents that came up trying to trip up the elder brother in South Carolina. He cut them so eloquently. Like I said, like a masterful spiritual samurai, he unsheathed his sword, cut them, and put it back, and they was cut so fast, they didn't even know they was cut. All right. They collapsed after they walked away spiritually. Okay. But not 35, but 36. Ezekiel 36 and 35. All right. And remember, the scriptures clearly say that when Israel, when it says when Judah and Israel, meaning the entire of all of the Israelites, they all go back to the homeland together, not just Judah and Levi, all right, or Yehudi, all right. All these makeshift words that they use, these after the fact words, and as a matter of fact, I often remind people that the very script of language that they use is a I'm glad they use it, because now it's clearly a weapon, a witness against them, because the house of Judah, the house of David, used the Phoenician form of Hebrew. They never used the Syrian script. So the fact that they're using the Assyrian script is evidence of their fraud. All right, the house of Judah never used it and never went into captivity under them. All right, so why are they? And the reason they used the Assyrian script was to try to make a separation between all the evidence that proved that the natives of the Americas were Hebrews, were Israelites, because when they got over here, they started using the Paleo again. The Phoenician script of Israel of Israelite language was found all over rocks, caves, and carved everywhere here in the Americas, which was exposure to them. But anyway, Ezekiel 36 and 5, it says, Therefore, thus saith the Lord power, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea. All right, that's including the Jewish converts which is exactly what the king of the what did he call them? The something mafia, the Khazar mafia. They converted. All right. It says, which have appointed my land into their possessions with the joy of all their hearts. It says wait a minute. I have spoken against the residue of all the heathen and against all Idumea, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their hearts, with despiteful minds to cast it out for the prey. The Idumean Edomites appointed the land of Israel into their hands. So what does that make the rabbis? Shalom, Kwam Yasharallah.